The big scary one, money. Oh boy. Alright, so money is basically going to be... It's not as simple as just having people employed. It's a lot of things, so it's maybe a bit easier to explain here. So here's the budget. Lots of numbers. People are going to be upset that there's no slider. I don't know. Cry about it. I don't know what to tell you. No slider, but functionally a slider anyway. So, the budget. We can increase taxation, which will, of course, get us more money. But it'll also decrease the legitimacy of our government. And when people lose their standard of living because, you know, they can't pay for things because they've been taxed a lot, then they're going to become very radical. They're like, hey, that's a lot of taxes you're levying on me, but I still can't pay for wheat? Isn't that weird? And then they'll try to shoot you. If you decrease taxes, people tend to be a little bit chill, you know, they're cool like that. So, if they sort of decrease their standard of living, that's sort of we can sort of blame them for that. It's like a skill issue because we already were giving them the lowest possible taxes. So if they're still kind of like taking L's on the daily, then that's really not my fault. So they become less radical when they lose standard of living. When it comes to these buttons here, these numbers are all to this, I believe. Except for, I don't know what poll taxes are. Maybe I'm just dumb, but let's see here. A flat tax collected on every working adult it applies to. Since poll taxes do not scale with the income, it tends to impact lower strata the most. Sheesh, that's kind of not good. Yeah, I think we might be able to change poll taxes. If we go to our taxation, we can like change our tax laws. Per capita and then proportional then graduated. It sort of like shifts the tax burden. So as you increase the taxes, then like the tax brackets change. So more wealthy people are going to be paying a lot more here, unless they're super wealthy, in which case they pay nothing. Just kidding, that got a little too real. Basically, right now we're kind of taxing poor people a lot for simply existing on land. That's kind of how we're doing things right now. Is child labor a thing? Yes, there is child labor, and we allow it. Let's go. No. So yeah, most countries start off with child labor allowed, and then you can restrict it, which is probably good because that decreases the mortality and also allows you to increase your education institution. And then eventually you can say, hey, basically no more child labor, everyone's gotta be in school for like the first part of their life so they can be better workers in the factories. And then you know, you can have better education institutions. Where's the compulsory child labor option? Okay. Alright. Poll means head, polling is counting heads, poll tax equals tax per head. Gotcha. So basically, I don't know if there's a way to get rid of poll tax, if I'm being honest, because this tells us that we have a land tax, an income tax, and a consumption tax. The land tax is basically from peasants, these guys that just sort of like exist on land and they don't do much. So when you have fewer peasants, then this isn't going to give you very much. You'll actually lose income tax, or lose actual land tax. You'll gain more income tax though. And then of course as you increase, then you have, you know, stuff like that. Per capita tax, what's this? From non-peasant pops. Hey, cool. We'll probably change to this first, but anyway. As for the rest of the budget, consumption taxes, these are things that you levy individually. The way that taxes work, if you're interested in how actual economics works, is that the theory is like taxes are always levied on the consumer, always. It's like you could tax a producer, but in the end, the consumer's gonna end up paying for that tax. So when you add a consumption tax, it's basically a sales tax in its actual implementation. So if something is really important and really expensive, like, oh, I don't know, let's say clothes are 12% more expensive. Do you want to tax clothes? Probably not. Because people are going to be able to afford clothing less. And that's not that good. They'll get upset over that. Because they will have a lower standard of living, and they won't like that. But for some of the stuff that's less relevant, like, I don't know, liquor and coffee, and as we'll see, services are a fantastic way of collecting consumption taxes. Because I think they kind of gave us too much service production. You can have like double or triple the amount of actual services you need very easily. So it's not actually very balanced in my opinion, but whatever. Wheat taxes for the win, let's go. Tax all food, actually. I'm sure that'll go great. I'm sure we will have 0 revolutions because of that. Anyway, yeah, back to the budget real quick. Dividends tax, we don't have any of that. Tariffs, we have very few tariffs until we start trading a lot more, then we can have more tariffs. Trade is a little bit of a complicated system, but we'll get to that when it becomes relevant. Minting is cool. It's basically like, hey, your economy is this big, so you need to make this much money, you know, to keep your economy existing. So, inflation isn't a thing modeled in the game, so we're kind of just gonna be favorable to the idea that minting is just going to be the right amount of money always with absolutely no consequences. By the way, this also applies to gold. You can have 75% of your economy be based off of mining gold and turning it into money, and there's no inflation. So you might see a little bit more of that tomorrow. Now, for the investment pool transfer, this is stuff like, if any of you have played Victoria 2, you'll know that there's a system in Victoria 2 where the capitalists can create factories and stuff, you know? They can pool their own money into creating something, and, you know, it just kind of exists. And they can do that without your intervention. Kind of depends on your economic model, but yeah. This game is not like that. Your capitalists and your aristocrats and whoever else has money will basically just give you the money, and you'll just build stuff with it. Yeah, kind of weird, but that's just how it is. So you'll get investment pool transfers from, it sort of depends on who has power. So let's see, what is our economic system? This one, interventionism. So capitalists give us 25% investment pool contribution, the aristocrats give us 5%. When it comes to agrarianism, then the aristocrats give us more. If it's laissez-faire, then it's more capitalist, and if it's command economy, then it's nobody. Right. I don't even know what additional income is. Anyway, diplomatic pacts is like war reps or subject. Now if we look down here to our bottom left, construction goods. As we improve our construction sector, things will be more expensive. If we want to construct things cooler and better, we're going to need different, you know, goods and stuff. These two things are kind of a good meme, because there's a really easy meta where if you have enough loyalists in your country, you can pay your government and your military absolutely nothing. You can just like drop it down to the minimum and they don't care. It would probably not be a good idea if we did that right now. We could actually do that. Maybe not with these guys, but we could with these guys. We could actually decrease the military wages down to this. It makes them less approving of the government. It's -5, but right now they have +3, so -5 doesn't do anything. They just kind of chill and exist. If they're at -5, then they will increase the cost of military goods. But if they're just at -2, then that doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter. Okay, right. So we have two different things actually. So there's military wages and there's goods for military buildings. Because of course your military needs to be paid a salary as well as, you know, an actual equipment it requires. Now the military goods are going to be just market prices. We'll get to market stuff later. Let's just ignore that for now, actually. Lots of other things, welfare payments, which you may or may not get to. I didn't in any of my games put in like a massive welfare system, but usually the pumps kind of demand something. Subsidies are when you're let's say, for instance, you have rails, and rails are really important, because without the rails, then you have less infrastructure, you can kind of collapse your own economy. So subsidizing the rails, kind of important. Even if they don't make you money, they have a lot more value outside of what the market would ascribe to it. The market cares about things, the rails are not one of those things, but you care about the rails, so you pay the rails. There, simple. Additional expenses, I don't know, special events. Interest is when you go into debt, diplomatic pacts are when you are like a subject, and you pay someone, or you have to pay war reps. And that's basically economy, okay? If we want practical terms of economy, you're just going to be increasing taxes when you're losing money and decreasing taxes when you have lots of money. That makes it pretty simple. You're also going to want to decrease your expenses, like the government wages. I would love to decrease government wages, but if I do, the intelligentsia are going to start calling me cringe. Fortunately, what the intelligentsia think of us is somewhat irrelevant. I don't actually care if they think we're cringe. They might decrease our prestige by 10%, but coincidentally, that doesn't matter. So sorry, they get paid nothing. Whoops. As for the military, we're gonna do the same thing. Oh no, now they have no money. Doesn't matter. They don't like me as much, but yeah, it's kind of irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So now, hey, at least we're not spending as much money as we were before. That's a good start.